Hey guys, it's Tori and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing my summer reading wrap-up. So if you're new here, instead of doing monthly wrap-ups, I just do like seasonal wrap-ups. So I've been doing this for I think about a year now. I'll take like 3 months at a time and just do like a seasonal wrap-up. So for the summer reading wrap-up, we're going to be going through all of the books I read in June, July, and August. And then obviously my next one will be fall and we'll go over all the books I read in the fall time. I just feel like I don't really read enough per month to do like a monthly wrap-up. I typically read between like 5 and 8 books a month. And I'm just not one of those girls who can read like 15 books in a month. I just don't have the time for it. I do have a full-time job. So we're going to be doing my summer reading wrap-up. Like I said, we're going to be going through every single book I've read over the last 3 months. So it's going to be June, July, and August. I have a bunch of really good reads in here. I found some brand new favorite series in here, some favorite romance books. We have a lot to go over. I think I have about like 20 or so books to talk about. So without the further ado, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my face. Check out all my socials down below, including my Goodreads and my Amazon book wish list. And with all that being said, let's get into my summer reading wrap up. Okay, so we're going to be going in the order that I read books. So I'm going to do my best to go from the very beginning of June until the end of August. So the very first book we're going to be talking about is something I'm so excited about, and if you have been here for the last few months, you've definitely heard me rave about this series. But that is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is the first book in the Kindred Curse saga, and this is literally so good. It's very hard for me to explain a fantasy book, but this is a, I would say, probably new adult fantasy series. There are 3 currently out, 1 more to come, and I cannot wait for that book to finally be released. But Spark of the Everflame is a fantasy romance book, and it's about this girl named DM, and her whole life she has been kind of part of like the poor people in this kingdom, and she has no special powers of any kind. And one day her mother disappears, and so Diem is trying to find out what happened to her. Diem, her whole life, has been trained that she's going to be a healer, so when her mother disappears, she decides that she's going to take her mother's place and be one of the lead healers for this kingdom. And because of that, she ends up getting into the castle and having to try and help heal the king, who has fallen very ill. And during that experience, she ends up meeting a man, and he's literally perfect. The found family in this series is literally so good. I love this series so much. It is on Kindle Unlimited. I highly recommend reading these. They are being traditionally published, so the first one I believe comes out traditionally in the next few weeks or so. So I have the indie versions of both the paperback and the hardcover because I literally love these that much. But I highly recommend checking this out. Penn Cole is an amazing author. She's so sweet. Her and I have talked a few times and I'm obsessed with her. I love her. She's just such a genuine, kind soul, and you can tell that she really truly loves writing. And I think that the writing in here is so well developed for being her first series, and she's just amazing. Her writing's amazing, the characters are amazing, the relationships, the found family, everything about this is so fun. I love the magic system. I just love everything about this series. So I ended up rating this one 4.5 stars. Then I instantly moved on to Glow of the Everflame. This is obviously the second book in the series. Once again, loved this so much. The freaking tension and banter in this specific book is unmatched. I literally loved it so much. She is pretty thick, but she is worth every second and every word and every page, and I am so beyond obsessed with the series. It's not even funny. I easily gave this one 5 stars. Probably one of the best sequels I have ever read. She really knocked it out of the park with this book, and I cannot recommend this series enough. Seriously, please go check out this series on Kindle Unlimited or pre-order your traditionally published copy because it's so good. So good. Then I carried on with the Kindle Unlimited fantasies, so I ended up reading Academy of Protectors, and I gave this one 4 stars. I honestly don't really remember anything about it. It was a super short book. I think it was like 150 pages maybe. It was kind of just like one of those little filler books that I was reading because I was just kind of feeling a little slumpy after loving the Kindred Curse saga so much. So I ended up rating that one 4 stars, and then I read the second one, which is Forging the Guild, and I gave that one 3.5 stars. This one kind of gave me the ick a little bit. I was kind of getting a little bit confused of what the purpose of the series was, and I really wasn't sure where it was gonna go. I haven't continued the series, and I don't know if I will. It, like I said, is on Kindle Unlimited, but I didn't love it. I think if I were to go back and change my rating, I'd probably lower both of them by at least like half a star. But it was okay. It was just something like quick and easy. They're super short. So I did read those 2. Then I finished off the Kindred Curse saga with Heat of the Everflame. This is the 3rd book and the final one that is currently out. The 4th book, Burn of the Everflame, is supposed to come out sometime. She's had some issues because she's being turned into a traditionally published author, so there's been a lot of issues trying to get the last book in the series out. But I gave this book, once again, 5 stars. This was so good. The plot twist in here is insane. She's very thick, but I literally, once again, love this series so much. Can't talk highly enough about it. You have to read it, have to give it a chance. Pencole's very talented, and I will probably scream about these books until the end of time because I truly love them that much. Like, this is pretty far up there with like ACOTAR and Throne of Glass. Like, that is how much I love this series. The next book I read was Flawless by Elsie Silver. I gave this one 3 stars. So this was the 2nd book by Elsie Silver I had ever read. I actually think that Callie asked me to read this. And if you don't know, this is part of the Chestnut Spring series, and that's basically just like a small town cowboy romance series. This one is about a bull rider, and the bull rider's boss's daughter is like set up to like keep an eye on him because the male main character gets into some publicity issues, and so his manager asks his daughter to keep an eye on him. I don't know what it is, but I read the 1st book in her new series a few months ago, didn't love that one, and then I tried this one and I liked it even less. I know that is very controversial because a lot of people really love Elsie Silver, but I just don't think she is for me personally. These books are so hyped, so I had high expectations and I just didn't love it. I just feel like the writing isn't very advanced, I guess, and I kind of like a little bit more like lyrical advanced writing. Personal preference. I just didn't love this. I probably will try and continue reading a few more of her books, but she's definitely not like an auto-buy author for me personally. So like I said, I gave this one 3 stars. I know it's probably pretty controversial for some people, but it just wasn't a top favorite for me personally. Then I read Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is her newest release in the Powerless trilogy. I personally really liked this. I gave it 4.25 stars. The ending of this book is crazy and shocking. I think some of us kind of guessed it a little bit, but that doesn't mean that it didn't still pack a punch. This is definitely more of a filler book. I'm sure you've heard of Powerless, and if you haven't, it is a YA romantasy trilogy, and it kind of gives like Hunger Games vibes a little bit. So this is the 2nd novel, and it definitely gave filler book vibes. A lot of people really didn't enjoy this. I personally bought this on Kindle on release day and finished it within 1 sitting. I literally ate it up. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I really love Peyton and Kai so much and just their adventures. This was, like I said, a filler book, but it kind of was just like giving you more of the romance substance of the specific couple in this book. I'm really not sure what book 3 is going to bring. I'm a little bit nervous about it. I love Lauren Roberts. I have actually met her twice now, and I do have multiple signed copies of this series because I just really do love her. But I'm intrigued to see where this series is going. I'm excited to get the next novella. I don't know who it's going to be about, but I'm excited to get the next novella, and I'm just really intrigued to see where this is going to go. So I highly recommend this trilogy if you haven't tried it out already. It's very highly talked about, very highly raved, so I ended up enjoying Reckless. I was really on my fantasy grind because I ended up picking up The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I love this movie franchise so much. I had never like officially read the book, so I ended up picking it up. I gave this 4 stars. I obviously knew what was going to happen because like it's Hunger Games. I've seen these movies like 1,001 times, but I still enjoyed it. It honestly made me love Peeta even more because his character has a lot more, like, I guess, page time than he gets screen time in the movie, and you learn more about him and how he truly feels about Katniss, and just I really enjoyed reading that. I was kind of feeling a little bit slumpy when I read this just because I had read a couple of really good books in a row. So it took me a little bit of time to try and actually get through this, but I ended up enjoying it. I gave it 4 stars. I probably will continue the series at some point, and I definitely will want to read the new book when it comes out in, I believe, March, about Haymitch. But once again, I enjoyed it. I feel like it's just a classic. It kind of made me feel very nostalgic finally getting to read this book, so I enjoyed it. Then moving into July, I read A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston, and I loved this book so much. This is 4.75 stars. Very close to a 5-star. I loved it so much. Ashley Poston is also the author of The 7-Year Slip and The Dead Romantics, and I read The 7-Year Slip earlier this year and I actually loved it. So this is so good. Basically, this is about Elsie, and she goes through a breakup, and every year her and her friends go on a book club trip to this cabin and just spend a week together just reading and drinking and talking and having a grand old time. And unfortunately this year Elsie's friends cannot go, and so she decides that she's still gonna go because she needs this time away from her job and her life. Nothing in her life is going the way that she had planned, and so she decides to go. And while she is making her way to the cabin, she gets lost and there's a storm, and she kind of gets stranded in this small town. She stays in the small town, and the next morning when she wakes up, she realizes that this small town that she stayed in is the small town from her favorite romance book series, and she meets all of the characters, and she just kind of has this like holy shit moment. And so the whole book she's trying to find ways to get her car fixed so that she can get out of this small town, but she's also met this broody, mysterious, handsome bookstore owner who she is staying with, and it just kind of goes from there. I personally loved this. I know that some people were disappointed by this book, but personally I really enjoyed myself. I thought that the quotes in here, based on like just being a book lover and the way that Ashley Poston really portrayed the way I personally feel about books and characters and authors, she did an amazing job really putting my feelings and my thoughts into words. So there's so many beautiful and amazing quotes in here that I just loved and ate up. I loved this book so much. I highly recommend. It's very much so like magical realism women's fiction with a hint of romance in it. The romance is not the main story. It is definitely a side plot, but I feel like it's a pretty prominent side plot. But I really loved this. I highly recommend it for anyone who's a book lover, and if you're here, you probably are a book lover. So personally really enjoyed this one, and I feel so sad for the people who were underwhelmed because I thought this was perfection. So this is kind of where I started to really dive headfirst into audiobooks and just really take advantage of my Audible subscription. So I ended up listening to the audiobook of The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. This is the second book in the Nightborn duet. They are continuing this series. It's the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and the next novel in this series actually comes out on my birthday this year, which is November 19th. So I ended up listening to the audiobook of this, and I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was a pretty good continuation of the first book. I thoroughly enjoyed the first book. I thought it was really great, which was Serpent in the Wings of Night. Loved it so much, so I wanted to finish the duet so I would be ready when the new one comes out. And like I said, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. There are definitely a few things that, because I listened to audiobook, I probably didn't fully pick up on. And it had also been a really long time since I read the first book. I think I read the first book in December. So I put like 7 months between finishing this series, which is totally my fault. But I did enjoy it. I liked it. I'm excited to see what she's going to do with the next duet, because I believe there's going to be 3 duets total to complete this whole series, and each couple is gonna get like their own little duet. So I enjoyed this. I liked it. I thought the audiobook was really fun. I liked the actors for the audiobook, so I definitely would recommend. Then I got into a full-blown hyperfixation and obsession. This was like a pivoting point for me in July, because I actually ate these books up so fast and completely finished a whole series in literally like a 5 or 6 day span. And the books and series that I am referring to is the Windy City series. So this is the first book. This is Mile High. This one is about Xander's and Stevie. Xander's is this bad boy player, hockey player, and Stevie is the flight attendant for his team's flights when they have away games. And I gave this one 4 stars. This was one I wasn't even sure if I wanted to read, because I've heard a lot of very mixed things about Mile High. I feel that most people either love it or they absolutely hate it and DNF it and can't get through it. I think that some of the things that people complain about with this book are a little far-fetched. A lot of people say that there is just too much like fat shaming and body shaming in this book. I don't really think that Xander's body shamed Stevie at all. If anything, he just told her like how beautiful she was in her own skin, because she was more of like, I would say maybe more like a medium-sized girl. And a lot of people are like, I just hate how much he like fat shamed her and blah, blah, blah. And I don't feel that he did that. That's a personal opinion. I listened to part of the audiobook and then like read part of it. I kind of went back and forth, but I enjoyed this. I don't know if I would say it's crucial to the rest of the series to specifically read this one, but I would at least give it a try. This was definitely my least favorite of the series, but I still really did enjoy it. After I finished Mile High, I instantly went into The Right Move. This is book 2. This one is about Ryan and Indy. We are all in love with Ryan Shea. He's like the perfect man. So Ryan is actually Stevie's brother and Indy is Stevie's best friend. So this is fake dating, close proximity. It's also obviously best friend's big brother type of vibe. I loved this. This one was really good. This got 4.5 stars. This is probably my second to least favorite. The next 2 in the series really hooked me, but Ryan is actually a basketball player, and like I said, Indy is living with Ryan because she gets broken up with and kicked out of her apartment and she has nowhere to go. So I loved this one, thoroughly enjoyed it. The cover is absolutely freaking stunning, and Ryan Shea is the absolute king of like small gestures, and if he wanted to, he would, because this was amazing. Loved it. Then I went right into Caught Up. I loved this. This one is about Kai and Miller. Kai is the pitcher for the Chicago baseball team, and Miller is the baseball team's manager's daughter, and she is a like professional chef, and she's taking a little bit of time off, and she goes home, and Kai is a single father and he needs a nanny for the summer, and so Miller fills in for him, and this is a nanny romance, and I loved it. And Kai is so down bad for Miller. He's perfect. I literally love this book so much. Loved it so much. The acts of service is actually crazy. I was obsessed with it. Literally gave this 4.75 stars. Stole my heart. Love this beyond words. Highly recommend. Then we have the real showstopper of the Windy City series, and that is Play Along. This book is about Kennedy and Isaiah. Kennedy is the baseball team's like physical trainer, so Isaiah is Kai's little brother. They both play on the same team, and Isaiah has literally been in love with Kennedy for like 3 years. She's been in a relationship this whole time that he's known her, and finally he notices that she is single, and they actually end up getting drunkenly married while in Vegas. And Isaiah is a perfect man. Like, that man is perfect. He's down bad, acts of service, words of affirmation, literally so obsessed and in love. This book stole my freaking heart. I literally read this in like 2 sittings, loved it so much. 4.75. Highly recommend. Please, literally for the love of everything, read this series because of this book and this man, because I love Isaiah. I still think about him on a daily basis. Obsessed. So good. So good. So after absolutely falling in love with Liz Tom Ford, I ended up actually starting a graphic novel series, and that is Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I had never read a graphic novel before, but this really changed my mind. I really enjoyed this. I gave this one 4 stars. It is so quick and easy to read. It literally, I think, took me like less than an hour to read this book. So if you're just needing something quick and like a perfect palate cleanser, this is perfect for that. I highly recommend. This is about Nick and Charlie. Charlie is like one of the only guys who has come out at his school, and he's been severely bullied for that. And Nick is the like head rugby player, and they end up needing someone on the rugby team, so he asks Charlie to fill in, and they become really good friends, and then it ends up becoming more than friends. And this is just such a sweet little romance. I highly recommend trying this out. If you've never read a graphic novel, I honestly feel like this is the perfect place to start. I loved this, and it's definitely opened my eyes to being open to more graphic novels. I haven't fully completed this series yet, but I am really enjoying myself, so I highly recommend this one. And I loved that book so much, so I ended up going right into Heartstopper Volume 2. This is literally just a continuation of Nick and Charlie's journey together, their friendship, their budding romance. And it's just so sweet and so wholesome. I honestly really enjoy just all of the representation that is in this book, and just everything about it I just loved, so I really recommend. Then I went right into August, and to kick off August, I read the Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. I love Abby Jimenez. I have read 2 of her other books, which is Yours Truly and Just for the Summer, and I loved those, so I was really excited to try out this book. I gave this one 3.25 stars. This is about Sloane and Jason. Jason is a famous singer, and Sloane is going through a very dark and hard time, and she's driving down the road, and all of a sudden this dog just comes out of nowhere, and so she tries to get a hold of the owner, and she can't get a hold of him. Lo and behold, the owner is Jason, and Jason finally comes and gets his dog, and they kind of just like raise the dog together, and they end up catching feelings for each other, and it's a roller coaster. This is literally like a movie and a book, in my opinion. Like, I have seen movies that give this same vibe. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It's definitely not Abby Jimenez's best work. You can tell it's one of her earlier novels based on what I've read of her newer novels, but I still enjoyed it. I still would recommend it. I definitely want to finish her discography just because I love Abby Jimenez, so I would recommend this one. Then I did a reread of one of my all-time favorite books ever, and that is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I love this book so much. I love this series so much. If you know anything about me, you know that the Magnolia Parks universe honestly like takes the cake for me personally. Is my favorite romance series of all time. And I have read this book 3 times now because I love it that much. I cannot wait to continue my reread of this series. If you live under a rock and you have never heard of Magnolia Parks before, it's basically high society London meets like Gossip Girl a little bit, very Chuck and Blair, toxic romance. don't go into this thinking you're getting a cute fluffy romance, because you're not. And the first time I read this book, I didn't enjoy it because I didn't know what I was really getting myself into. But this is a very toxic romance, but the quotes in here are insane. The way that these two characters love each other, the found family and the friendships are unmatched, and I literally love this series with my whole entire being. And I will probably reread the series for the rest of my life. I literally have a tattoo for this specific book, and it's my bow tattoo. And I have another tattoo in mind for this series because I just love it that much. So I highly recommend. Please just give it a chance. Don't knock it till you try it. I also feel like you cannot just read Magnolia Parks before you quit the series. I feel you need to read Magnolia Parks and then Daisy Hates, because this is like an interconnected series. So you have the Magnolia Parks books and then you have the Daisy Hates books. And the first Magnolia Parks book takes place at the exact same time as the first Daisy Hates book, but they're just in totally different point of views. So you get the same storyline, but you get different point of views and different perspectives. I don't feel like it's repetitive or redundant at all. I feel like she does an amazing job of differentiating the two, but I literally could not give you enough praise and just love and amazing words for this series, because it absolutely changed me as a reader and as a person, and I will scream that I love this series at the top of my lungs probably until the day I die. Then I had an arc for a new release, and that is Nothing Like the Movies by Linn Painter. This is the second book after Better Than the Movies. I literally ate this book up. I read it in 2 sittings. I finished it in less than 24 hours. I loved it so much. I gave this 5 stars. I highly recommend. I believe this book comes out in the beginning of October, and I cannot wait to have my physical form. This is definitely a book that I will be rereading because I loved it so much. Better Than the Movies is about Liz and Wes, and they're basically like high school frenemies. And Liz has a crush on this guy, and Wes like fake dates her and kind of helps her get this guy that she wants to go to prom with. And in the process, the two of them catch feelings for each other. So Nothing Like the Movies takes place a few years after Better Than the Movies, and for some reason Liz and Wes have broken up, and you kind of just learn who they have become while they've been apart, why they split up. You kind of watch them rekindle things, and it's amazing. The quotes are amazing. The one thing I truly love about this little duology is that there are like quotes from iconic comedy romances at the beginning of each chapter, and she literally hits like every single one of my favorite romance movies. I literally loved this book with my whole entire being, and I cannot wait to have the physical copy when the book finally releases, because I loved it so much. I'm so blessed that I was able to read it early, and I highly recommend reading Better Than the Movies before Nothing Like the Movies comes out, because it's so good. So good. Then I went to Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. I absolutely loved this. This was getting a lot of hype there for a while, and I wanted to read it before that hype wore off, and I really enjoyed myself. This one is about Allie, and she is going through a very tough time. She's going through a divorce. She doesn't really know who she is as a person. She's kind of having like an identity crisis, and she ends up meeting this guy, and he kind of helps pull her out of this dark spot and really just show her who she wants to be as a person. And she's a mom, and she just is really having a hard time, and you just really follow her journey of trying to find who she is as a person and falling in love again for the first time in a really long time. And I loved this so much. I highly recommend. It's like the perfect cozy romance, but it's also very strong in the women's fiction genre, so I highly recommend this. I cannot wait to read more books by Annabelle Monaghan. Her quotes are very beautiful. She kind of gives Emily Henry vibes, and I just thoroughly enjoyed and highly recommend giving this a try, especially before it's too late into fall. It's not too summery in my personal opinion, but it is literally called Summer Romance, so I would recommend reading this sooner rather than later. but it's so good and I highly recommend. Then I listened to another audiobook, and that was Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I had heard very good things about this book, and I ended up rating it 4.25 stars. I really enjoyed the audiobook of this. I honestly can't really explain this fantasy world because it's pretty confusing and intricate, but I really loved the storytelling and the imagery. She did a very good job of actually helping me imagine what these characters are going through. I didn't love the narrator of the audiobook. I think I would have enjoyed it even more if I physically read it, but I did enjoy this. I really liked the romance. I could just tell who the love interest was going to be pretty close off the bat, but I am very excited to continue this trilogy. It's called The War of Lost Hearts, and there is 2 more books in it, and there's also like a prequel that you can only get off of Carissa Broadbent's website. But I'm very excited to continue this, and like I said, I gave it 4.25 stars. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it, and I will absolutely be continuing the series for sure. After that very thick and very heavy fantasy book, I needed a palate cleanser, so I went in with Heartstopper Volume 3. Once again, just a continuation of the series. It's nothing crazy, very just ooey gooey and heartfelt. I gave this one 4 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I cannot wait to continue reading these because I've been having such a fun and joyous time. There are these really pretty like special edition hardcovers of the series that I cannot wait to get my hands on, so I enjoyed this one. Once again, recommend it. Then I finally completed a duology that I have been needing to get off my TBR, and that was Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is the Shepherd King duology. The first book is One Dark Window, which like absolutely blew up at the very beginning of this year / the end of last year. So this whole world is very hard to explain. There are these like Providence cards, and if you have these cards, then you can like have a special magic while you possess that card. But there's also this thing called the mist, and if you like get into the mist, you can get this infection, and it's very confusing to try to explain. If you've not heard of this, I'd be very surprised, but I did enjoy reading it. I gave it 4 stars. I didn't love it. I really did enjoy getting new point of views though. I liked the new couple that we got introduced to. I think that this is a very good way to wrap up a duology. I thought it was a very good second book in a series, and like I said, I did enjoy it. I really liked the new point of views. I really liked the original characters from the first book as well. The found family is lovely. The storytelling is very nice, and there was some high stakes, and overall I really enjoyed this. I would definitely recommend giving this a try. It's like the perfect duology for the fall cozy months, so this would be the perfect time to start reading it. But I did enjoy this one, and I, like I said, gave it 4 stars. The final book we're going to be talking about today to wrap up my summer reading wrap up is Catch the Sun by Jennifer Hartman. This book, Bestie Taylin from Instagram and TikTok recommended this a couple of months ago when it first came out, and I really got intrigued and excited to read it based off of her recommendation because I just trust her recommendations so much. We have a very similar taste in books, so I ended up getting this one on Kindle Unlimited, but I also got the physical form when I went shopping a few weeks ago, and it's beautiful. This is a beautiful, beautiful book. But I finally gave it a chance, and this got 5 stars from me. So this is a second chance childhood, best friends to strangers to lovers book. There are some very deep and dark topics in here, so please check trigger warnings before you go into it. But it is like absolutely crazy. There was so many things I was not expecting when I was reading this. The ending was just something crazy, and I loved it. The drama and the plot twist and just the twists and turns, and my emotions were literally going haywire. I was texting Callie while I was reading this, and I was like, I literally don't even know what's going on. Like, my emotions cannot handle this. I read this in 2 sittings. Loved it so, so much. As soon as I picked this up, I could not put it down. Highly recommend. So good. This is I don't know if I would call this YA, maybe more new adult. It kind of gives Boys of Tommen vibes a little bit, in my personal opinion. So if you love the Boys of Tommen series, I would definitely give this a try. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. I really liked it, and I really want to read more books by Jennifer Hartman. I had never read anything by her before, but this was a perfect way to end my summer reading, and I'm very excited just to see what else Jennifer Hartman can do. And I really enjoyed these characters, and their story is just tragic and heartbreaking and insane, but in the best way possible. So like I said, 5 stars for Catch the Sun. Alright guys, so that wraps up my summer reading. We had so many amazing new series, new books, new authors, romances, fantasies. I literally hit all the 9 yards, I feel like, with my reading in this past summer. I had such an amazing time, and I literally loved every book I read so much. So with all of that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all of the books that I read over the last few months. Let me know down below if you've read any of these, or maybe like what your favorite book that you read this summer was. Let's drop a sunshine emoji down below if you made it to the end of the video, just because we are closing out summertime. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my face. Check out all my socials down below, including my Goodreads and my Amazon book wish list. And I will catch you guys in the next one. I love you to the moon and Saturn. Bye, besties.